In this clip from a recent Q&A with our TTT athletes, we explain why focusing on strength this offseason will be beneficial for most people.
The first question here is, not sure if I can make it to the live, so I'll pop this question here. Do you guys recommend that during the offseason spend a few months solely doing strength and bodybuilding work? Asking from the point of view, hold on, I gotta expand this. Asking from the point of view of someone whose strength is their biggest weak point and missed quarterfinals due to their strength.
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it's also something that we haven't put information out about our next training cycle yet, right?
Yeah. No.
But we will be doing a lot more strength development, a lot more skill work. Especially this year, there were 2 tests that were highly limited by strength, which means half of the testing in the open was that way. Could be an indication of things to come, but I think every year we see in our intermediate path, or the people that are just transitioning into RX, there's a huge gap for strength development. And once you start doing a lot of metcons and a lot of conditioning work, except for the best of the best, it's really hard to get those like big strength gains or put 5 or 10 pounds on. It's something that I did with David Bradley last year after quarterfinals. We did a bunch of work on just getting bigger and stronger, and it paid huge dividends this year. So I think it's something that we think is important, and it'll be in the training program as a huge focus for the next cycle.
Yeah, can you just quickly touch on what the strength plan is for the next few cycles, kind of going through the start of the off season through, let's say, our fall time, like October-ish?
Yeah, so well, we do have a cycle overview coming out soon.
Yes, we
that goes like in full detail of that, but just to give a quick rundown. So once quarters is over, you'll have an off week to kind of back off, get your body refreshed, and then we start basically the beginning of a 2-block strength cycle that's going to be close to 12 weeks long. The first 6 weeks is going to be more off-season strength style focus. So you're going to see a lot of unilateral work. You see a lot of bodybuilding movements, and really just taking time to get away from the high percentage loading demand of like the power lifts and the Olympic lifts. We'll still do technical work on those lifts, but that's not the main goal and focus. Right now it's kind of pumping the brakes a little bit and spending time getting bigger, focusing on hypertrophy, and just allowing nervous systems to refresh a little bit so that we can kind of lay a foundation to get back into that higher percentage work down the line.
If someone's listening to that and they're like, can you explain why that's important right now?
Yeah, so like I was just saying, it's important to lay that foundation down the line, because eventually we are going to get back into that high percentage work with power lifts, Olympic lifts. It's showing up in metcons. And if you jump right back into that now, it's not sustainable in a year-long plan. It's very hard to see progress like that and not burn yourself out. So this allows the body to basically handle more stresses down the line when we are getting closer to a competition season where you have to be able to snatch 225, 135 in metcons, 150. What was the women's weight?
Yeah, 145.
Yeah, 145, sorry.
145.
In metcons, you've got to be able to hit a heavy thruster. And anyways, the point being is build the body a little bit where you're removing the necessity to have this competition timeline, and you're allowing your body to grow at its own rate. And this style of strength training that we're providing is going to help with that. And then also for those following RX, we've got an option in there that's giving you the ability to remove the conditioning so you can follow a strength bias only program. So that's something that we're really excited about. Is we realized, like Max was saying with David Bradley, we took some, and I've done this with a lot of athletes and had great results from it. Basically, we remove a lot of the intense conditioning and the demands that puts on your body that would take away from strength gains just for a brief period of time, and just do strength work for a while. You'll still have throwdown here and there just to make sure you're practicing CrossFit, but for the most part, it's all strength work. And we wrote in the cycle of basically a plan to follow with that. So I give you guidance and numbers and things to hit, adjustments to make to the program so that you can follow a strength bias
people
program.
Who are struggling with strength, y'all pull back the metcons and then they just bloom like crazy because they're putting all that energy that they would be putting into the metcons now into that strength work?
Yeah, it's just you don't always notice how much the metcon volume and conditioning and intensity affects your ability to recover from strength work and perform with intensity when doing your strength work. So if you're always kind of dampened from doing all these hard metcons all the time, you feel very fit, but you go in and you try to lift and you're not able to get your nervous system fired up because you're a little tired.
And you think it's could also be one of those deals where they think they're fresh, and then when they realize they cut the metcons, they're like, holy shit, look how strong I am.
I hear this from athletes all the time. They're like, damn, why did I waste so much time, overtraining all the time when I actually just pulled back my volume a little bit and saw my strength just explode. They saw all their numbers just start shooting up. So,
and who is this for again? Who should do the strength bias?
Really, I think everyone.
Yes.
If once you go into an off season, it's always a great time. So if you're always training super hard, if you just think of like fatigue and your hormones just slowly getting fatigue going up and your internal hormonal system just getting smashed a little bit, like more stress hormones, more need for putting on muscle and fixing muscle strains and all the things that you do in training. If it's a constant grind and you're constantly on the pedal, generally that's where people get injured more often. Their strength levels start to stagnate and turn down. They start to get emotional burnout. So after the season is a great time to start thinking about going a little bit heavier in your food intake. So that way you could put on a little bit of muscle and have an abundance of calories inside your system. Putting on a little bit of just, overall body fat could even be good. I know my competitors generally that I've worked with will gain like somewhere between like 5 or maybe like 3 and 5 pounds in the off season, which is okay. Like being in peak performance conditioning is not really always necessary. So I would say anyone would benefit from these cycles of going like hard competition season and then taper it off, get strong, rebuild your motivation, rebuild your skills, do accessory work to get your body feel good. And then when you start peaking back up, essentially every season you're then better because you've kind of waved into it. There's this misconception, I think, at the top level because the best athletes in the world seem to be grinding a lot all the time from some organizations, and then they still hit strength PRs and conditioning PRs.
And they're shredded year round.
Yeah,
It's
but
like,
I mean,
we all want that.
Yeah,
But
everybody would love that. But the reality is most people's bodies and minds can't take that. And you just start getting beat up, or you start getting injured, or you get chronic inflammation, or you get a muscle strain that takes 3 weeks to heal. So this is a way to be proactive about it, to say, bam, perfect time, get big and strong for a while, let your conditioning base drop and do more lower intensity stuff. And then as that base got built bigger, when you start dropping the hammer again, you have more intensity to put into it.
And so the way you're going to tackle that again, Mike, was how is it set up in the program?
So the RX path will still have RX Plus and RX, and it's going to have strength work. It's going to have conditioning, because we're not just going to remove all conditioning for everyone in the program. Like there's still some people that need to be better at CrossFit and have muscle endurance limitations.
Or who just want to do it.
Yeah, or just want to do it. So like we get that, and we're going to keep that in there. But I wrote strength volume for the main path to follow, and then I'm basically taking that strength volume and I'm putting notes in it saying, if you're doing the strength bias path or program, these are the things you're doing today, and you're excluding these things from the main block of training.
So notes on what to exclude.
Yeah, it's very clear what to do, and there's bumped up volume on some things so that you're doing a little more strength work. I think the main thing here is like you're just going to have to adjust to not leaving the gym feeling like you got smashed by a Metcon every day, which we get addicted to. And I think,
was that ever hard for you at any point? Or were you always like, screw it?
Well, no, I go through periods of that. Like, I go through periods where I just do bodybuilding because hormonally it like feels good and allows my joints to recover. And then, man, when I get through like 6 weeks of it, I'm like ready to lift and I feel really good and I can move with speed again. And like my joints and nervous system feel recovered. So I'm not doing it for the same reasons that I need to get stronger. It's more so it allows my body to recover so that I can maintain high levels of strength for long periods of time going into my late 30s.
Yeah, two more things before we go to another question. The strength work that Mike's talking about also includes skill work and strength work for the gymnastics movements. And I think that's important. Most people are like, they're not only scared of losing conditioning, but they're worried about like, what about ring muscle ups or strict handstand push-ups?
Yeah.
Part of getting stronger is being really good at those things. So that will be in the program.
Yeah, when I say strength, I don't just mean external loading. I mean moving your body as well. So like strict handstand push-up limitations in 23.3
basically a strength
was
to
a
body
strength
weight.
limitation.
Yeah, strength to body weight.
It's not just moving a barbell.
Yeah. And again, there will be different tiers, just to remind everyone, based on the path that you're following. You know, intermediate is going to focus more on the gymnastics, whereas RX will be more of the strength work, but both are doing the very similar things.
I don't know during which part she said this, but Jamie Latimer says, I feel seen, and then had the monkey with the hands over the eyes. She's seen.
All right. Do you think it's worth videoing and showing measurements if we know we won't be in contention for the top 10 of an age group? Thank you, TTT coaches.
We kind of already touched on that. I mean, is it necessary? No. If it's something you're striving to do in the future, I think it's good. I think it's also good for your own development that you have these in the future to look back on and be able to compare and contrast if you're getting better in the future, or watching your video and doing video review. So I would say just do it anyway, unless like it's unless it's a logistical issue in your gym that it's like, I got to get in and I got to get it done. I don't have time to do this, and it just doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think part of the process of competing well in a quarterfinal stage is the ability to handle the stressors and pressure of all of this logistical setup. Like it's a style of competition that athletes have to be immune to and have to be good at dealing with. So like Max was saying, if you're eventually doing it, I think it's a good practice. If you just squeaked into the top 10% and you just, you know, you're following your gym classes up till the day quarters come out, you just do it and, you know, move on.
Yeah, I still think it's just really good practice to review your own videos if you want to get better. Even if you don't want to compete in the sport, but you want to improve your own, you know, whatever, you have little goals of being better at ring muscle-ups or handstand push-ups, then film the videos, and then that's an easy way for you to do video review later on.
She said, because I'm weak. And then also, that is what she said. Sunny Day says, is there any bodybuilding components built into the strength program?
There is. It's not the bodybuilding program. Those are separate still.
Oh,
but there are bodybuilding style movements in there. So you'll still have some.
Almost every day we have accessory-based work.
Yeah, you'll have some absolute strength lifts. You'll have some Olympic lifting technical work, and you'll have bodybuilding finishers.
Whoop, whoop.
All right, next question. What would you all recommend to someone following your program and their gym follows a separate program? Just in terms of like, should I jump into my classes still? Should I only follow compete? How would you guys navigate
That's a good question. Yeah. I mean, I'll handle that because, you know, work with affiliates. I think, one, I think you need to get your gym to follow TTT affiliate. That way you can train coinciding with them. I think a lot of it really depends on the atmosphere and the relationship you have with the owner. So some gym owners and gyms are very supportive of other athletes doing their own thing. Some are not, and you have to be able to read that. And I think, one, having a conversation with them, being like, look, like, this is the style of training I really enjoy. I like this community. I want to be a part of this, but, you know, like, I don't necessarily want to do classes. What can we work out so I can still come in and not be a nuisance to class, not interrupt things? Or is there a way I can, you know, meet in the middle where I do a couple of class workouts with you guys a week, be involved with the community, and I still have some open gym time? So, I mean, I've had a lot of athletes that I coach individually do that, and I think we get a lot of questions in the past in the program of people doing that because, you know, like, some of these workouts we write require a lot of equipment and space. You're trying to be a competitor, and these are the demands that you need. So, yeah, I mean, I think it depends on the owner, and I think it comes down to just having a conversation with that owner and building a good relationship.
Yeah, I'd say every once in a while it's good to jump into the class no matter what to participate with the community. Again, like if you're going to do quarterfinals, if you had done some of the classes, you'll probably have more friends in the classes that'll be willing to stay with you and judge, and like being part of that community is probably a good thing. If possible, I think the best thing to do is get the training for the gym a week in advance. You'll already have our program a week in advance, and then you could just pick one or two pieces that they have in the class that you can jump into. Yeah. Preferably not the whole thing. Like if it's just like, hey, I want to come in and I want to do this MetCon and do it with the class. But in order to do that, you need to have a good relationship with the owner or the head coach or the GM or whomever that will allow you to do that. But
try to swap things that make sense.
Yeah, swap things that make sense, and realize that our program is written to get you better as a competitor with thought process about every single day and how that leads into the week and how that leads into the cycle. So if you're like cutting the same thing out every week, you just might be missing out on some progressions and things we're trying to get better at.
Yeah, to that point, maybe the best way to do it then would be make sure that you're doing the things in our program that you want to get better at. Yeah. Like if we have strict muscle up progressions and your like goal is to get strict muscle ups, then make sure you're doing those every week and then add in the MetCon as needed. Cool.
Hope you enjoyed this clip from our live TTT Athlete Q&A. To hear the full episode where we discuss navigating the upcoming CrossFit quarterfinals, gaining strength in the offseason, and what improving your engine really means, check out the audio version on all major podcast providers or peep the other clips here on YouTube.